Hi guys, Tom here. Just wanted to put a little cover on this one to say we recorded this one a little while back before the Masters was cancelled, obviously with the coronavirus outbreak, which is happening all over the world. We've had a big postponement in golf. We decided to run the pod anyway. The pod is with Lukas Michel, who won the US Mid-Am, is going to be teeing it up in the Masters. I'll leave it to Bruce to do the intro, but we thought we'd run this one for you anyway.
Hi everyone, Bruce here. Welcome to another episode of the Cookie Jar Golf Podcast. Today we're joined by Lukas Michel, who's the reigning US Mid-Amateur champion. Lukas has been playing full-time amateur golf at a high level since graduating from the University of Melbourne with a Masters in Engineering in 2017. He's been inside the top 100 of the World Amateur Golf ranking, and he's also represented the state of Victoria in matches all over Australia. As a result of his victory at Colorado Golf Club in the US Mid-Am last September, he'll also be teeing it up at the Masters and the US Open against the world's best. I'm also pleased to call him a good friend of mine. We first met at the University of St Andrews in 2015 while I was studying my undergrad degree, and he was doing a semester abroad from Melbourne, and we played a bunch of golf together there as members of the golf team. Although I should point out that Lukas was a hell of a lot better than I was, and to be fair, he still is. As you'll find out, Lukas is a fantastic guy, and we thoroughly enjoyed talking to him about a variety of topics in the game, including his brilliant amateur career, his interest in course architecture, and his upcoming Masters appearance. We hope you enjoy the pod.
Watch this. No way!
So we're joined by Lukas Michel. Lukas, thanks very much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So Lukas and I first met in the autumn of 2015 at the University of St Andrews when I was just beginning my third year of my undergrad. I think, Lukas, you were abroad for a semester from the University of Melbourne, and we rocked up to pre-season in August. I heard that there was this hot shot Aussie off +3, +4 handicap, and you were doing a semester abroad and you come to join the golf team. So what was your experience rolling up to St Andrews that week in August, and how did you find it?
It was sort of a dream come true, and it had kind of been in the works for a little while. I applied, I think it took a while to apply. I applied in probably January, and then I didn't end up rolling into St Andrews until late August. But I was excited. I was probably a bit kind of confronted by the experience of meeting a bunch of people I'd never met before and not knowing anyone. But I was in for one of the, I'd say probably now is probably the best 4 or 5 months of my life. Bruce, you're very lucky. I'm very jealous of you spending 4 or 5 years, however many years you spent there.
Yeah.
It's an incredible place.
And as long as I could.
I met a lot of great people. Yeah. Met a lot of great people. And
was that best time of your life because of golf or females or?
I'd say it was mostly the golf. It really is golf is paradise, Disneyland for
a special place
for someone like me. With the links ticket, you pay your £200 or whatever it is, and you can play unlimited golf on any of those courses, including the old course. I think in 6 months I probably played the old course at least 20 times, and a few of those times it wouldn't have been 0 degrees when I teed off. So it was incredible. I tried to make the most of it, and had a great time. Met some great people like Bruce, and we've kept in touch ever since. And he's come down to Australia and played golf at my home course, and it was an incredible opportunity and experience.
So you had a good view of the old course from your dorm room, didn't you?
Yeah. I was on the 3rd floor of Macintosh Hall, which is, I don't know if for the people that have been there, there's sort of 2 streets parallel to the 18th hole there, and the first one, Bruce, what's the name of the one right adjacent to the 18th?
So you've got the links, which runs right up
the
next
links.
to 18.
Yeah, that's that little one where the cars park.
And then you've got
Then it was North Street.
Yeah, which kind of runs into North Street, Pillmore Place kind of area. And Macintosh is literally right next to that, isn't it?
So it's not looking out to the links. This is set back in the roads a little bit, is it? Or?
But it's high enough up you can you can look over, can't you? You can see the beach. And
Yeah, I was 3 stories up, plus the fact that Macintosh is on like a bit of a hill. So I could see right across to West Sands, a bit of the old course. I could see the 17th green right from my window, and I vaguely knew where the 18th hole was. So you could see a bit of everything. I know you're probably going to ask another question leading into this.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I set the scene a bit, I remember because I helped you move your stuff into your room, and I remember you said like a couple of days later, you were like, yeah, I've looked out the window and I'm pretty sure like I could get a shot through the window and maybe get it onto the 18th green at some point. But although it's August now, I'll probably leave it until the end of my time here, just in case it goes wrong. I don't have to hang around too long. And I was like, yeah, cool, whatever. Didn't think that much of it. And then I think probably gets to December, a couple of days before you were due to fly back to Oz, and you messaged me being like, do you want to go down to the driving range and I can just find out the launch angle of my 7-iron, because I think it's about 170 or 180 or whatever to the 18th green. And do you remember you got that alignment stick out, and then like an old like cardboard
Box
sleeve that you put your like Pro Vs in, and then you kind of hung that on and we were just working out how far away you needed to be from the window to hit it through there.
It's great to see you using your engineering experience, I suppose, and putting it to good use, really, there.
Pythagoras'
theorem. Right. Yeah, so basically the window was only about, I think it was about 2, or maximum 2 feet. Yeah, probably 2 feet high, but it was probably 3 feet wide. So it was a tiny little window, and that was the most it could open up to. And then there was a little metal barricade, like that was used for like hanging cows and stuff. And I had to unscrew that. I think I borrowed a screwdriver from Brucey, actually.
Well, yeah, we went to mine. We got the toolbox out, didn't we? You needed something to hang your suitcase.
I don't believe Bruce had a toolbox
to make sure that it didn't, like, in case you caught it high on the face, it wouldn't hit like the window. So there was quite a lot of thought and detail that went into this.
But to explain exactly what went down. So I'd figured out the exact height that it needed to come out the window based on a bit of maths and engineering that Bruce and I figured out. So I knew that I needed to be, I think it was like 2 and a bit club lengths of a 7-iron away from the window, so that it would come out at the right trajectory to get through the window and then make the distance to the 18th green. So I waited until it would have been at least midnight, or around midnight, I'd say. And I'd had probably, I didn't want to drink too much, but I had like a pint just to settle the nerves.
Yeah, good master's prep.
And then invited a select few of people, so it wasn't too rowdy. And there was a few people in the room. I think there was a few people on FaceTime to a few other people that were standing nearby the green. And I hit multiple shots, actually. Well, 2 shots that successfully made it out the window, and then one that actually ricocheted within and made a little bit of a dent on the.
So the first one you caught thin, didn't you? Was that? Do you reckon? I mean, that's probably the most nervous you've been over a golf ball. Was that first 7-iron? You say?
Well, the problem was if I caught it, if it came out higher than I expected, it was hitting glass. But if it came out lower than I was expecting, it was hitting wood framing, like timber frame. So I think, my preference was to catch it a little thin, and I caught it a bit too thin, and it went
just
straight into like the bit of. Thankfully, it was a thick bit of wood surrounding the windowsill, and it kind of just bounced around and left a bit of a mark, but nothing too major.
Well, we had to get toothpaste for it. Do you remember? Like,
that's right.
An hour or so later, it was like this white wooden panel, and like we were filling it in with like toothpaste to try and make sure there's no. Picking up all the wood chippings. But then I'm pretty sure you made two good pars with the other 2 shots, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
So the other 2 got down on the green.
Yeah. So the first one was actually at the back left. Oh, sorry, back. I suppose if you're playing the hole, it's the left edge. But from my angle, sort of perpendicular to the way the hole's actually played, it was the back edge for me. So it actually went a little too far. I think didn't account for the amount of slope downhill it was. But then the second one, I think I changed clubs to an 8-iron for the second one that made it out successfully, and that was sort of pin high, but a little left. So I went down there. Well, actually, I'm forgetting the part where the hall manager knocked on my door and wondered what the hell I was doing. Which thankfully we hit all the golf clubs and they thought we were just moving furniture or dropping furniture or something like that. Thankfully, they didn't suspect it was golf. And then we went downstairs and I two-putted for a 3 out of my dorm room.
You say that you couldn't see the 18th green. What exactly was it that was in your way? Did you have to clear something? Was it a building you needed to go over? Or?
Well, it was Octoloni's. It was Octoloni's golf shop, the famous golf shop. So you could literally... That was that was probably right in front of me as I looked.
Yeah, probably about a few meters of like the R&A Forgan House as well, or there's some apartments up there as well, aren't there? Yeah,
yeah, which is why I was cautious to tell the story too close to me leaving as well, because I was an R&A scholar as well, so I didn't want the story to get out to too many people. But it's out now. I've told a few people, and there's a bunch of people that know it, and I spoke to someone the other day who lived in St Andrews who was like, "Oh, I heard this story about this guy that hit it out of his dorm room," and I was like, "Oh, that was me."
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think
both attempts were successful. Yeah, so no harm done.
Yeah, no, it could have gone. I'm sure it could have gone badly, but yeah, I wasn't. I was fairly confident in my ability to get it out the window, even though it was quite small, and I knew once it was out, it was safe. It was not going to harm anyone.
I'd imagine that's a great flashback to go to now, sort of coming down the stretch, and you think, right, as long as I can hit my window, I'm going to finish out strong here.
Yeah, just imagine I'm back in my dorm room in St Andrews, and yeah, that's all I got to do, hit it through the window.
Exactly. I mean, Ernie Els talks about just as long as I hit it through my visual window, then I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's Ricky Fowler on the new Pro V. Oh no, he's TaylorMade now, isn't he? But on one of the ball adverts, he was talking about hitting my launch window. But none of them have actually been and done what you've done, Lucas.
So could you actually see the ball landing on the green from your window?
No, what I should have done, I should have got some of those glow in the dark golf balls. That would have been the ideal, because it was in the middle of the night. And I kind of ran out of time, and I would have bought them if I'd given myself a week or two to really prepare for it. But I also wasn't sure, because sometimes those things flight a little differently. So maybe it would have come out a little lower. I don't know. So yeah, I played it safe and just went with the white golf ball. But I'm pretty sure they could hear it land on the green. Actually, I think they did hear it land, and then they went looking for it, and then another ball came flying down. And there was a few people that I think were close to getting hit on the green when they were looking for the first attempt. But it would have been good with the glow in the dark ball, I'm sure.
Excellent.
So if we go back to the beginning, pre-St Andrews, I'm right in thinking you were born in Perth. You grew up in Western Australia.
Yeah, yep. So I grew up in a town, or like a part of Perth called Karrinyup, which happens to be right next to a golf course called Lake Karrinyup Country Club, which hosted that Perth Super 6 tournament, and it's a really good course. It's a Alex Russell design, who was Alistair Mackenzie's Australian business partner. He actually built the Royal Melbourne courses with their superintendent at the time. So Mackenzie kind of came down, and Russell and Morecambe was his name, built the Royal Melbourne courses. So he was a really good architect, and the course is really good there. And I just happened to live 2 minutes down the road. My parents bought a place there, and they weren't golfers. I wasn't a golfer, wasn't really interested in the sport.
Who got you into golf then? Yeah.
I had a neighbour who happened to be a member of Lake Karrinyup Country Club, and he lived right next door. And when I was 4 or 5, he gave me some cut-down clubs that he'd tried to get his son into golf with, but he had no interest. And I took him and I was whacking him around the backyard, and my mum saw me using them and thought it was too dangerous, so she hid them, and then wouldn't let me touch them for a while. She never brought them back out. I actually found them when I was about 7 years old, and then brought them into the backyard again, whacking them around, found a golf ball, whatever, whacked it over the house to the neighbour's house, and was loving it. As an only child as well, it's one of the few sports where you can kind of play by yourself and not need someone to, I guess, join you. Like tennis, you need a hitting partner, and baseball and cricket, you need someone to play with. Whereas golf, you kind of whack around and you can kind of do it by yourself. So I think I enjoyed that aspect. And then so when I turned 8, I got some money for my birthday, and I decided that I wanted to buy myself like a proper set of golf clubs. So my parents were like, "What's wrong with him? Like, golf's for old people and fat people." So they were like, "This will last about 5 minutes." But I bought these set of golf clubs. They were really cheap and whacked them around. My dad took me to the school down the road and whacked it around and loved it. And then he sort of saw that I was fairly good at it without any proper coaching or anything like that. I don't even know how I knew how to grip it or swing it, to be honest. But he took me to get a few lessons and clinics at a local driving range. And then it sort of just started from there. And I think the light bulb went off in his head because he knew that golf was a pretty good opportunity for making money for the long term.
Yeah.
It's a pretty rich sport. So he probably thought, "Oh, I'll get this kid into this. This would be great for me." But that's sort of how I started. And it really is like an authentic kind of starting story. And I really still do enjoy it as much as I did the first time I hit the ball.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a really cool story. You became pretty handy junior pretty quickly, didn't you? I mean, I know you say there you kind of took it up properly when you were 7, 8, but am I right in thinking you got down to like a 1 handicap by the time you were 14 or 15?
Yeah, it's about right. I mean, my parents got me into competition pretty quickly. Like I was probably 10 or 11, or I was probably actually 9 when I played my first like junior little tournament, like 9 holes or not even, maybe like 5 holes. And I started playing some like competition golf fairly soon because I'd always played other sports and took those pretty seriously. And I was pretty handy at a few of the throwing sports like discus and javelin and that. And I guess maybe that helped with the strength and the technique for golf. But I got into the competitive side pretty soon. And I was probably off like scratch. I think I first got down to scratch when I was 15 or 16 and was probably floating around fairly low single figures when I was 13 or 14. And then played a couple. We have junior interstate series, which is kind of like, I guess, the Jacques Leglise trophy you guys kind of have over there, where you like a junior out of the states. So we'd play against, or maybe like junior counties or something like that, if you have something like that. But we played against. I played a couple of years of those, and then turned 18 and sort of was looking potentially at college golf as an option in the States, but decided that it was going to be like my golf was good, but in the last couple of years of school, I really focused on my academics, and I got left behind a little bit by a few of the top Aussies. And if I was going to go to the States, I wanted to go to a really good college, and those opportunities were pretty limited. So I decided to stay in Australia. Moved to Melbourne, actually.
Your parents moved over, or you were moving there independently anyway because of university? So you started uni in Melbourne, but they don't play that much. There's not an equivalent of like college golf or British universities, college sports golf there, is there? It's
no.
That's why you joined Metro and kind of the Pennant stuff and the scratch stuff you could play with them. Was a good way of keeping your golf going.
So I moved to Melbourne when I was 18, when I finished high school. And then golf in Melbourne, I mean, Melbourne has most of the sort of best tournaments in the country, and it's got a lot of the best players and definitely got the best courses. So it's a good place to really develop your golf. And I was lucky because the University of Melbourne it's ranked one of the best universities in Australia as well. So it was kind of a good blend of being able to sort of still do my academics and finish off that degree, or do my degree, and ended up studying engineering, and then also being able to play high level competitive golf while doing so. Because it's not really possible in Australia to really play high level golf at a university. You kind of got to do the two things separately, and I was able to do that. And that also gave me the opportunity to go to St Andrews, which we talked about obviously as well. So yeah, I sort of did my undergrad and then decided that, well, I almost had no option because Melbourne doesn't offer a Bachelor of Engineering. You have to do it through Masters.
Okay.
Masters.
So
I
it's
ended up
automatically
doing an
5
additional
years.
2 years.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. It's a minimum of 5 years sort of program. So it gave me another couple of years to work on my golf. And when I finished university, I sort of felt like I hadn't really given golf my full attention at any point. I was always either doing school or uni. So I really felt like if I did this now, I wouldn't really regret it. It's at least giving it a good crack. And that was sort of the plan at the end of 2017, was to give golf my full attention for however long until I decided that it either was, wasn't for me and I wasn't good enough, or maybe it worked out and, pro golf and that sort of side of things would happen. So that was sort of the end of uni was sort of that turning point.
Yeah, well, it's gone pretty well so far, hasn't it? So I mean, it's seemed like
well,
it
was funny. The first year was sort of a little bit hit and miss. I had a really good first, like literally, I think I graduated like December 14, and I won a tournament like either the week before or the week after. Like I won a fairly big tournament. I was thinking, oh, how good is this? Like, look at me. Like as soon as I devote myself to golf, I'm great. But it kind of the next year was sort of a little more humbling, and I didn't probably play as good. And I definitely felt like there were times where I was like a bit jealous of my uni friends who had pretty good jobs and looked like they were having a good time. But, I still felt like I hadn't given golf my everything. I went to the Australian Tour School at the end of 2018. Got through the first stage, no worries. And then final stage, there's only 2 stages. I didn't play very well and came 45th, and there was 40 cards, but I got a sort of a category that would get me a few starts, but I didn't feel like it was worth turning pro for. So I decided that I'd stay amateur for another year. And then it also meant that I was turning 25 in 2019, and I kind of knew the mid-am was there. I didn't know if I'd be exempt. And then world rankings kind of kept myself inside the top 30 ranked mid-ams, and I got the exemption in, and I figured, well, this would be a good sort of last hurrah before turning pro. I'll play this, and kind of it entered my mind that I could win and get the Masters and US Open spots, but it seemed a little far-fetched to think it was a realistic possibility. And then it sort of came around and went over for it. And just played really well for the week and kind of kept getting through rounds. And I was thinking, I'd play one round or play a round of match play, get through, and then I'd think, oh, well, that was good. And even if I lose tomorrow, like I'm turning pro, how exciting is that? I'll get back home, I'll be able to play some pro events, make some money, whatever. And then I kind of kept winning, and I was like, oh, no, this is cool. And then I got to the semi-final, and it wasn't until the semi-final that I really kind of hit me that I could actually win this thing, and that I really should probably try a bit harder and keep concentrating. And if I'm down, I should probably legitimately, try and fight back and actually win, because I was sort of on cruise control and not really thinking. And that was in a way probably why I was playing so well. But I got to the semi-final and just really had to buckle down and knew that he was a great player, and this was too good of an opportunity to just sort of piss away.
So you beat Stewart in the semis, all right?
Yeah, played him in the semi-final. He messed up our 17th hole a little bit, so I won the 17th to go 1 up with 1 to play, and then he sort of messed up the 18th as well, so I won 2 up. So, but it was a good match.
At that point, I remember that's when I sort of tuned in. So probably just as you'd hit the semis against Hagestad. Hagestad the week before was playing the Walker Cup, so I was sort of monitoring that. Yeah. So he's made the trip across, and I mean that's a hell of a win. Yeah, he's a great player. I spoke to my caddy, who sort of knew Stewart a little bit. He actually played Stewart in the tournament itself. He played him in the round of 64. So my caddy's an American guy. He jumped on my bag after he lost. He lived in Melbourne for a bit. That's how I knew him. But yeah, he played Stewart and sort of told me
Stewart's never been down this whole tournament. He wasn't down a single time throughout any of the matches.
Wow.
So he said, put him in an unfamiliar position, jump on him early.
He was was he 2017 Mid-Am champion?
He was, yeah. So he was the youngest ever to win it. I think he was 25 when he won it, and he won it in 2017. Played the Masters, 2016 actually, 2016. Played the Masters 2017, US Open 2017, and then he also played 2018, 2019 US Opens by qualifying in. So he's a real good player.
Big congrats as well, Lucas. You're the first person on the pod to call Cal out on golfing knowledge there. So for anyone who thought this guy was a machine, you're the first guy that's actually called him out on a fact.
He's met his match.
I think we've even got a little soundtrack that we can probably knock on.
I definitely should have looked that up this morning. That was just sort of back of the head knowledge.
Proper rookie stuff.
Just throwing that in.
We're not editing that out. Anyway, sorry, Lucas.
No, all good. Yeah, so I jumped on him early. I think I was 3 up through 7 or something like that. He clawed a few back. And then, I kind of got him at the end, which was good.
Yeah, it's funny talking there about, the expectations you had going into it, seeing it as maybe, just a last hurrah before turning pro. How do you kind of manage those expectations kind of leading into the Mid-Am? Were you playing quite well before then? Did you obviously going over knowing what was on the line in terms of the Masters exemption and the US Open? How was it kind of dealing with that sort of pressure and just, as I say, managing expectations?
It was funny because my form going in was actually fairly ordinary. I think the last tournaments I'd played I went to the US in the middle of the year for 3 events. So I played the Sunny Hannah Amateur, the Northeast Amateur, and the North and South Amateur. Right. So they were good, 3 really strong events. And sort of my game was pretty awful. I played all right in the Northeast. I made the cut, came like 30th or something like that, which is, I think there was like 10 guys that played the US Open in that field, or like 8 guys. Pretty much all the amateurs who played the US Open flew back and played the Northeast Am. It was a ridiculously strong field.
That's
so I played
Wannamoyset, isn't it?
Wannamoyset, yeah, great course.
Which is supposed to be incredible.
Yeah, the three tournaments I played, in a way, like when I saw what courses they were at, I was like, okay, I'm playing those 3 because I'm a bit of an architecture nerd. But the North and South is at Pinehurst, number 2 and number 4 as well. So, but yeah, my form going in was fairly ordinary. I played fairly poorly in those events. I'd say my expectations weren't very high. I can't even remember. I don't think I played a single event between those and the Mid-Am. Maybe, oh no, that's a lie. I played a tournament back home that got me a start in the New South Wales Open, which I just a smallish amateur event that I won. But the form really wasn't like it was tracking leading in. And even in the stroke play, I think I qualified, like I was the 46th seed. I think I was tied 37th or something like that. So I was very sort of middle of the pack. My driving was fairly ordinary, but I was putting it really nicely. And then throughout the week, my driving and my sort of iron play got steadily better, and my putting also got really a lot better, and got to the point where I basically had the best putting week of my life. I think it was hard to even remember putts I'd missed. Like, it was pretty ridiculous. Like, pretty much everything within 10 feet, inside 10 feet went in. Like, there might have been a few exceptions over the match play, but I was really rock solid on short putts and hold a few bombs as well, and then started hitting it good. So kind of all came together at the right time, really.
That's brilliant. Do you think just having that kind of, just the intensity of the week, playing round after round, maybe not having as much chance to practice? I know you like to work really hard on your game, and maybe not having as much time to practice or kind of think about it or analyze the swing and stuff, just being able to just go out and actually just play round after round, and that kind of played into your hands and led to it all kind of coming together. And they always talk about sort of staying out your own way. Do you think that was maybe part of it?
I think it was a perfect storm of a few things. Like, the course setup was really firm and fast. So if there was anyone who's familiar with that sort of golf, it was probably me in that field, because there was not too many internationals, a lot of Americans, and golf over there, I think, rarely gets as baked out as it was that week. The other thing was the altitude, which was fairly high up. So there was a lot of thinking and processing and calculation before I'd hit a shot. And there's a couple benefits. I think I probably calculated faster and better than most people and more precisely, but also it allowed my mind to really focus in on one thing, like just my carry number, and that sort of worked in my favor. I was really focused on that all week, and it's kind of something I've taken away from the event to really try and dial in on a specific number to carry it based on all the elements that I've sort of determined. So that was something that worked really well for me.
Because there's a lot of elevation change at Colorado Golf Club as well. I mean, for our listeners who don't know, the mid-am was played at Colorado Golf Club in Denver. So as Lucas said, is it 10% altitude or something? And added to which you've got a lot of undulation change too. Yeah, so I think it's about 6,000 feet. So it's like 1,600 meters. It's high up. I think it's 10 or 11%, roughly. Like obviously aerodynamics, I don't know, whatever goes on into that, I probably should know, but study that. But whatever the air pressure, the lower pressure means the ball goes a lot further. And then obviously the elevation change combined with that. I mean, there was shots that were like, I think the 17th hole, the last hole of the day, the last hole of my tournament there, it was might have been 205 yards, but it was a 9-iron because it was a downhill elevation change. There was hardly any wind, but it was a 9-iron. And then I kind of accounted for a bit of adrenaline in that. So, and I hit it 30 feet past the hole. There's water as well, isn't there?
On that hole?
Is there water? There's water left?
Yeah, water left, kind of along the left. Yeah, it was a fairly daunting tee shot, even though I'm only hitting a 9-iron to a green that's sort of contoured a bit like 16 at Augusta. So it's got that shelf through the middle of it. So if you go on the right, I mean, the pin was low left. If you went right, it wasn't an easy two-putt. It was not the nicest shot I've had.
You mentioned earlier in terms of the first couple of rounds in the stroke play, I guess it's just a case of getting through. I guess with the match play, it's sort of obviously stroke play, you're playing against the course and a few other factors. But I guess once you're into the match play, you're really just playing against your opponents. So is that sort of, did you find yourself that freed you up a little bit?
I definitely find I do prefer match play just because there's less consequence for a poor shot and you can kind of play with a bit more freedom. Yeah, you're right. If you hit a bad shot and it goes out of bounds, I'm like, okay, next hole, reset. So that's the nice thing about match play. And I think I've realised that I do quite like match play because I'd never really done that well in a match play tournament before the mid-am. Like I'd maybe made the semis of the South Australian Amateur, but I'd never had much success. Perhaps I was overdue for some of my playing opponents to play poorly, law of averages. But I kind of kept making it through, and kept playing well, played aggressively, and it paid off.
I've got to ask you this story about on the 17th green in the final, because I know you mentioned it then. It's a daunting tee shot, and you hit it to about 30 feet right, and your opponent, Joe, hit it to sort of 10, 12 feet, did he? Do you want to just talk us through what happened there?
Yeah, so to set the scene, I was down all day, and then I birdied 14, 15, 16 to go 2 up. And then the 17th, so 2 up, 2 to play, I go first, hit 9-iron, 30 feet past the hole. He hits a really nice shot. I think he hit a wedge, actually, 200 whatever yards it was. Hit a wedge to 10 feet, 12 feet, whatever it was. And I hit my 30-footer up to 3 feet. Below the hole, nicely uphill, but never a gimme. Like, never a gimme. And, well, especially with, what's on the line. Yeah. And he's got 12 feet and hits a really nice putt, misses, goes and scoops up his ball. I can't remember if I told him it's good, but I assume I did. Scoops up his ball and starts walking over to me. And I'm thinking, what's he doing? Like, mine isn't a gimme. Like, what's he doing? So and he extends his hand, takes off his hat, shakes my hand, and his exact words, I can't remember precisely, but he mentioned that no, the putt's not good. The putt's not good. But he said it with a little bit of authority, a little bit of authority. Like it was kind of like he was intending to do it. Like it wasn't like, oh, like he got confused or anything like that. The way he said it was like, no, like I'm making you putt this, like go hole it.
That's absurd.
Like, good luck or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was like,
mind games. That is crazy.
Yeah, wish me luck. And so, he sort of wished me luck, shook my hand and said, yep, go hole it.
I remember doing the same thing playing pool at school. It's like where you start putting your cue away and the guy's still on the black ball. So what happened then?
Anyway, the USGA officials, so the USGA official's basically ready to give me the trophy. He's walking over towards me and I have to shoo him off. I'm like, oh, no. Like Joe never said it was good. He's actually told me I need to putt this. Like I need to hold this. And so like there's a bit of applause sort of starting and then they all kind of stop clapping. And I'm like, okay, I got to reset here. Like that was a bit weird.
The engraver stopped engraving.
Yeah. The engraver stopped. He started, filling it in. But no, it was 3 feet up the hill. I mean, I was shaking like a leaf. I was
more than the 7-iron in Macintosh. Shaking more than the 7-iron that you hit out the window.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have a pint in me to settle the nerves. That was the issue.
I assume you went back to that moment of the window. Just think, that's my window. Just put it through.
Channeled channeled that, but managed to roll it in right edge, and then my celebration was I wasn't going to go shake his hand straight away. I ran over to my caddy, embraced him, and then eventually shook his hand. But I'd already shaken it earlier anyway.
Yeah, so. You'd already done that before.
Did you stare him in the eyes?
Yeah,
roll that 3-footer in.
Wow.
Just for a bit of a
shoot.
Yeah, should have. It would have been good. Give him a bit of a point.
I mean, do you think he just kind of like the moment just sort of got to him a bit? I mean, people do weird things under pressure, I know, but
I really don't know.
Was the mood of the match like? Obviously, you spent 35 holes with him prior to that moment. Was it kind of? Was it pretty friendly and amicable most of the way around? Yeah.
Yeah, it was never hostile, the match, and it which made it seem really weird that he would do something like that. I mean, he was pretty particular with the crowds. He didn't like people moving and all that. So I don't know, like whether that was a tactic of his to kind of like, I don't know. To me, that would seem like that would put him off more than me. But yeah, it all seemed pretty friendly. I mean, there might have been 1 or 2 little encounters that were like meant, felt like, okay, this guy means business. But yeah, overall, it wasn't very. It wasn't like a bitter kind of relationship between the two of us to do something intentional like that. But it was very strange. And the impression I got was that it was intentional.
Say on the celebration, you went over to your caddy. Was it? Were you not tempted to do a bit of an Adam Scott, come on Aussie, bit of a as he did at the Masters?
Well, yeah, no, I'm not really one to do something like that. Although I was at the Australian Amateur this year, and the guy that won gave it a big come on Aussie or whatever it was. I forget what it was. Aussie, oi, oi, oi in the final, which I thought was a bit. I didn't really enjoy that. I'm not a big fan of that sort of stuff.
More of a tip of the cap.
Yeah, exactly.
Appreciate it.
Hi guys, Tom here. Just the sheer scale of this podcast with the amount we wanted to talk about, we've managed to split this down to 2 different episodes. So we're going to finish this podcast here and we're going to pick up the next one talking about the Masters and his preparation for that and his love for course architecture. So pick that up in the next pod. I hope you enjoyed it.
Watch this.